It's chilly at night now in Ferguson, and not nearly as many people are out on the streets.
United we stand! Divided we fall! United we stand! Divided we fall!
But a troop of tenacious teens and young adults is still marching, 6 weeks after a police officer shot and killed Michael Brown.
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Hands up!
Don't shoot!
They call themselves the Lost Voices, a group of 9 or so who mostly didn't know each other before the shooting. But when they kept seeing each other's faces in the massive protests that followed Brown's death, they knew they had something in common.
Night after night, we was coming out here protesting, plain and simple. We never been to a protest before, but we were protesters. We became activists. We became civil rights leaders. So it's like everything worked in it's like some magical way, like all drawed us all into this one spot.
I know they committed and dedicated because we were out there marching together. So that kind of caught my interest, and I'm like, I'm out here with y'all.
Leonard Smith and Dante Carter say they're not that different from Mike Brown or each other.
Young African Americans need help. They need real justice. They need to be treated equally. And you cannot even get justice through the justice system. Now that's a problem.
They're continuing their protests because they're fed up with a system that they say is stacked against them. The Lost Voices is one of a few groups still demonstrating, even taking its protests to extremes.
We all camp out.
So this is your tent?
Yeah, this is my tent. This is where I sleep.
And so the first night you actually didn't have a tent, right?
No, I did not.
Where'd you sleep on the first night?
The first night that I spent the night, I actually slept in a chair and just kind of nodded away.
The first night was so amazing because everybody didn't come together the first night. It was night after night after night. Not one of us knowing who each other was, but trusting each other to sleep next to one another at night. We slept together at night, sharing a piece of candy bar this big, collectively breaking it up amongst the group, make sure everybody got something.
The Lost Voices have changed locations several times. Right now they're at the back of this vacant parking lot. And what's significant about their location is they're just a few blocks from where Mike Brown was killed. And this is the road where thousands of protesters were marching just a few weeks ago.
What compelled us to go out in the streets and be part of the march was Michael Brown was killed. The Lost Voices' main cause is to have everyone across the whole entire world conscious on what is really happening in your community, in our community, and the communities across the world.
They've been roughing it for a few weeks now, vowing to stay outside until a grand jury decides whether to indict the police officer who pulled the trigger. Leonard says he'd also like to see the mostly white police force start to change.
We had a meeting a couple weeks ago with the mayor and the chief, the Lost Voices. Had a meeting with the mayor and the chief, and we suggested a lot of things that will create the change, such as, like I said, have the police officer coach teams out here, you know, go to the schools and be involved, you know, make the younger people feel like I could talk to officers or coach so-and-so about this.
City officials say they're trying to address public concerns like Leonard's by holding public meetings. Hundreds lined up at 2 town halls Monday night to learn more about what the city says are misconceptions about the police force and city practices.
Chief, would you share a quick call with us for Al Jazeera?
We caught up with the police chief just as he was entering the town hall. He told us he welcomes the chance for dialogue.
How's your department doing right now in handling the community and community relations?
Good. Good. We're healing. It's like we're on behind the scenes, and we're feeling stronger every day. Very, very positive about the future.
And what do you think is the biggest change that needs to happen going forward?
I really don't want to go there right now. There's so much in the works.
We tried to follow the chief inside the community meeting run jointly by the city and the Department of Justice.
The Department of Justice is not allowing for us inside.
But the Justice Department closed the town hall to non-Ferguson residents.
We're from the media. I just wanted to see if you're letting us into this meeting. Is there anyone from DOJ here that can explain why?
And
No.
the media.
Won't let us in. Okay, so that's the second meeting, 2 of 2, that we haven't been allowed into. It's the DOJ that's preventing us from coming in. So overall, would you say this was a productive meeting, that this will help the community, or do you think this was worthless?
I believe it when I see it. Action speaks much louder than words.
United we we stand. Divided we fall. United we stand. Divided we fall.
The group, The Lost Voices, continues to use its voice to shout for justice and peace.
Fight back! Fight back!
The members believe that's the only way the change they hoped for will come.
These killer cops, they got to go!
Lori Jane Gliha, Al Jazeera, Ferguson.